And we're live. Welcome, everyone, to another High Vibe conversation. I'm your host, Shel Shapiro. And with me this week, we've got Jenny Langren, Linda Vetrus Nichols, Stina Marie, Dorit Carlson, and this week's special guest, Steve Gamlin. I'm so excited to dive into this week's topic, which is doing the work. But before we get there, I want to welcome all of you. Thank you for joining us. I want to remind you that this is a safe space. We invite you to share with us as we talk through our life lessons and hold space for you to work through yours. So, what this means is whether you are new here or whether you are a returning guest and you're familiar with this, if you hear something that you relate to, resonate with, have your own insights, experiences, and want to add your thoughts to the beautiful conversation happening before you, please feel free to chat with us. You can do that by popping your thoughts right into the chat on the screen or by sending us a private message if you feel more comfortable doing that. Or if you'd like to continue that high vibe conversation and have one of your own, you can please feel free to join us for an individualized high vibe conversation using the link on your screen. I will, of course, pop this up at the end so that you don't have to go searching for it. And if you are liking these high vibe conversations, we encourage you to subscribe to the YouTube channel. This is where you can catch up on previous conversations and make sure that you don't miss any of the ones that are coming up. So, highly recommend that you check out that YouTube link and subscribe away. I will also pop this up at the end of the conversation so that you don't have to go looking for that one either. Without further ado, today's topic, doing the work. We've got Steve Gamlin here. Steve, we're so excited to have you. Welcome.
Thank you, Shel. Very happy to be here. And quick introduction, I am at age 55, living out all of the goals, hopes, and dreams I had when I was 11. Now, they didn't all happen smoothly, but I got here and now we get to enjoy life as a professional speaker, as a visualization coach, creator of the Vision Board Mastery Program, and help people to understand how to see their goals, what they look like, feel like, sound like, smell like, and even taste like. And of course, you've got to do the work. So very happy to be here. Thank you.
Oh, wow. So let's unpack that a little bit, shall we? How did you become a vision board master, if you will? Like, how does that get people to do the work and manifest what they really want to see, feel, taste, smell, all the things?
It all started in the early 2000s. I walked away from a successful 10-year radio career. My first marriage crumbled, and I was tens of thousands of dollars in debt without a full-time job at age 35. And I started working with a life coach, and we had some conversations, and he said, "You know, you're creative, you're funny. You could be a speaker or a coach and even a stand-up comic," all of which I became. And he suggested I go check out the DVD version of The Secret, which had just come out at that time. And I agreed with some of it, but I think they broad brushed the law of attraction so much, even using a genie and a magic lamp in the DVD version, which just made me go, ugh. People were wishing and hoping and calling it manifesting. And I'm a blue collar guy from all the way back. And I started to put my own life back together, taking the steps. What did I want my goals to look like? What did I want the experiences to feel like? What did I want to be like? What was the best version of me to go pursue these goals? And through trial and error and taking up a lot of notes, I finally figured out a system, a way, in steps that worked for me. And then other people started asking once I started actually creating success in my life, "Hey, how'd you do that?" So it just kind of very organically grew into me speaking about it and coaching other people, and then ultimately creating a program because some people said, "Look, we can't hire you to come in here. Do you have a program?" And it all just very systematically led to that. See, it had been a flash in the pan like we see some people do. They have this super secret formula and they kind of flame out because that's all they've got. I spent many years putting it together and then just ultimately shared my notes.
You mentioned flaming out there, and is that where the motivational firewood kind of came from? Like how to like tell me how that factors in because I'm very punny
Yeah.
sometimes, and so yeah, I want to know how did that nuance really like drive that tagline, if you will.
Yeah, that little phrase came out very early in my speaking career. My then coach asked if I'd ever heard of the National Speakers Association and said that they had a chapter that met monthly down in Boston. So I drove down. I live in New Hampshire. And I walked in and I see all the members have these beautiful name badges and lanyards. And I've got the blue Sharpie and the sticker that says, "Hi, my name is." And I just wrote Steve and slapped it on my chest. And one of the veteran members said, "Hey, Steve, happy to have you here with us. What do you do and what makes you unique as a speaker?" And I said, "I like to help people." He said, "Steve, we all like to help people." And God love him. He had the patience of a saint. About 3 to 5 minutes later, he finally said, "What sets you apart?" And I said, "Don, look, if people are paying to come hear me speak, it means they've got a spark in their heart of something they want to change in their lives. And if I share a story or a lesson or a tip or a tactic or a strategy or something I survived, and the next day they wake up and they do something with it, it's like I handed them a piece of motivational firewood." And he snapped his fingers and he said, "Young man, do you know anything about trademarks?" I said, "Nope." He said, "That's interesting and unique, and I think you should trademark that because I've never heard anything like it. But what I love the most is the way your face just lit up when you said it that way." He said, "Hang on to that because I think that's what's going to set you apart." And I've about $1,200 later, I've owned the trademark on motivational firewood ever since.
Uh, Thank you for sharing that. That's such a wonderful example of doing the work. Like even in that moment of showing up to check out what this speakers association was all about, and then having a conversation that led to something else that led to you taking an action to
Mhm.
get further along in your journey. And I think that's what doing the work is all about. So
Yeah.
I this is wonderful. I love having this conversation with you. I want to pop over to Jenny now. Jenny, what's coming up for you as we're talking more about doing the work?
Well, I paid attention to the fact that Steve mentioned he's doing what he dreamed of doing as a child. And I have my kids right now, they're twins at the age of 9, and their older sister is 10, sharing their thoughts on the future and what they would really love to do. And I read notes from people who are ready to leave and check out. And they say that, what they ended up really loving was what they always knew that they wanted. It's what they already told people they would love to do when they were kids. And, I could easily shut them down. I could easily keep them from doing their work by questioning, by complicating things, by questioning their visions. And that's also what I see in my clients, that sometimes we shut ourselves down because we're afraid of stepping into those decisions. We're afraid of making the wrong decisions. We're overanalyzing things. And just what's coming in is that I see in my kids that at the end of the day, it's quite simple. And we get to not shut ourselves down. It's just decisions as we're moving forward towards our visions. And we get to evaluate them, and tomorrow we can make new ones. It's just part of the exploration. Thank you for sharing, Steve.
That uh, I I love the example of how they're decisions. Like we've often talked about making choices, and then if we don't like those choices that we've made, we get to change our mind and make new choices and new decisions of how we move forward. But we can't actually do that if we don't do the thing or try or take that next step to see if that choice and the decision is aligned for us. Right? So if we just make a decision and then we don't do anything for it, it doesn't actually ever, I mean, maybe in some small, instance it does manifest itself out of nowhere, but for the most part, like, you have to take those small steps and make multiple decisions in order to get where you want to go. And so I love that you just broken that down for your kids already at such a young age where they can take that information and lead with it and run with it. And hopefully they make decisions and choices that they are proud of and happy with along the way, and they know and feel supported that if they aren't, they get to change their mind. So I love that you brought into the conversation how you're showing that as an example to your kids and mirroring that for them. So thank you, Jenny. Linda, I'm coming down to you. What's coming up as we're talking about doing the work?
Oh, that's a tough one for me because I live with my pleasure list instead of goals. And so it's more, it boils down, I don't even get there to the doing the work. It just takes care of itself. So it's like knowing what I feel like doing in the moment and then just doing that. So I love projects, and if I'm involved in a project that maybe like needs its next step or whatever, I still hold space for the outcome. And so the outcome's like always on my pleasure list too. So yeah, I don't really get stuck. I just stay in flow of getting things done, and I'm on my 24th book, so it's working. And and Steve and I have talked about that too, as far as goals versus whatever. So yeah, having that vision and moving towards it in a way that feels really good and feels really in flow, and just watching what's actually happening, even in the people around me or whatever. And you can't control any outcome. So it's definitely doing the work is about letting go of the outcome. And when it comes to making a decision, or you're even looking at like a lot of choices, then it's like, okay, if we can only do one, which one is it, to get clear of the importance in order. And my background is special education. So that was the number one thing I did with IEPs is create a goal and then create the objectives to get to the goal. And the first objective or the bottom objective is kind of what's that first thing that needs to happen so that we can reach that second objective, and then the third, and then the fourth, so that boom, we now have the goal attained. So I don't know if that makes any sense. That's where I'm coming from.
It makes wonderful sense. It's kind of like there was an example of this last week, I think, on the call, or maybe the week before. I don't remember, the timeline is off for me, where I was saying I'll try that, or I'll try my best, and Linda, you were like, no, you'll do your best. Like, there's no trying, just do. And that's, I think, where I get hung up sometimes, is getting stuck in trying. The trying comes from actually doing the thing. It's not the say, like just me saying it. Me saying it is a fear. It's something that's keeping me stuck. So when I can shift out of that, as you so often like prompt me in the best nurturing way to do, like it gets me out of that fear to move forward and actually do the thing, right? So I really relate when you say like, I don't know what doing the work is, because you stay in your pleasure list and you just do. But for me, that's where the doing the work causes me to get stuck sometimes, and I have to remind myself, or have somebody else remind me to shift back into it. So
right. And real quick, interject, it's not just like the do, because it's like I do whatever I feel like doing. So in the moment, I stay present. And so it might not be working on the project and the do of a project or anything like that, because things just come in so much easier for me when there is no pressure. So it's like, if nothing's happening, if nothing's coming in, it's like, cool, go do what I want to do then outside of the project. And then when I come back to the project, usually it's like, 50 million, you've seen that, 50 million things come in, or, if I'm doing copy for social media or something, 5 days worth, a month's worth, whatever, just comes in within, I don't know, 15, 30 minutes, where I could have worked 15 to 30 days trying to get it, develop it and create it myself. So
Yeah.
it's ease.
Yeah, absolutely. And when I said do, I didn't necessarily mean like doing in the same chronological order of one specific project. You have the freedom and get to bounce around in whatever feels good. So I love that. Stina, I'm coming over to you as we're talking more and more about doing the work. What's coming up for you?
I also caught on to the childhood bit. So when Jenny brought that up, I was like, yep. And I've got the 10 and 12-year-old as well. So, our kids are in that age where they really start to have those like visions for their future. And I always hated the question, what do you want to be when you grow up? Because it felt like I was supposed to choose and like commit. That's the kind of person I am anyways. So asking me that as a child, when it would kind of change, I would feel this like I'm a fraud, or I made a mistake, or I'm going to disappoint someone, or that's not what I was supposed to be. And there was so much that came along with that question. And so as Jenny was thinking, I wrote down a better question that I would like to ask my kids, which is, when you think into the future, how does it look? And just see what they come up with, because that's like inviting them to share all kinds of things, and not to just think about what career do you want to get paid for, because ultimately that, like Steve was telling his story, that unfolds. You have to get out there and experiment with things and have experiences, and then like gather the data, right? I liked this. I didn't like this. I want to do more of this. I want to do less of this. And then over time, you have that evidence of, wow, I'm really skilled in this area. Oh, this really lights me up. And that's been my whole journey as an entrepreneur. Even though I've done most of the same work, copywriting, the types of clients, the type of work rhythm I like, the way I want my schedule to flow, just those relationships, just fine tuning all of that to now where I'm like, ooh, I have this like well-oiled machine, and I'm really enjoying it. But it's a lot to try and just sort of manufacture a thing and then think it's going to happen, because you had like this title, to put on it. So I really liked what Steve was saying about that more like visceral connection with the way that it looks and feels, and Linda's pleasure. Like we're all focusing on the experience. What is it really like to be in the present, doing the work, making progress, learning and experimenting, and and that makes the work just the journey, instead of having to like work, reach the goal, like very mechanical, kind of cold. And then it just changes for me. It's changed how I even set goals. So I'm noticing like what actually makes me happy and going for that, instead of, some arbitrary, oh, I want to have a 10K month. Why? Like, why would I ever make that my goal unless I know what that means to me and it creates a specific experience? So I've learned that like those incremental things that make progress that you can achieve, and then you can go to the next level, and then you can tweak it a little, like that's so much more sustainable, than like what Steve was saying in The Secret, the genie, the like the hoping and wishing, and thinking that, you can think about $1 million for a month and then just somehow have it. That's generally not the case. But, if you're willing to dedicate 10 to 20 years to something, then you got a pretty good chance. So.
there's a lot to unpack for me there, and so I'm gonna take a moment to process it while we come over to Stina to Dorit. Dorit, what's coming up for you? I feel like you're wearing red today, but I feel like you also kind of match my pink, and that's what I'm noticing as unrelated to the work. But what's coming up for you as we're talking about doing the work?
This is part of doing the work. I'm getting more colorful. I'm showing my true colors. Well, what comes up for me is, well, my transformational journey from 5 years back. Most of you guys know that I was very burnt out and really, really sick for 7 years. And after that, it just left me feeling empty, depressed, no confidence whatsoever, because I hadn't done anything. I didn't know anything. I wasn't a part of society anymore. I was just existing. So the doing the work for me began when I decided that I wanted to join the Leadership by Heart Academy here in Norway and take my coaching education and get certified as a Leadership by Heart coach, because that started the inner work for me. I got coachings from the leaders, and then we started coaching each other within a group to practice. And then I started coaching on clients after 3 months. It was really intensive. We did it every day for 3 months. And the things that were unpacked from within, the mental blocks that were demolished, the new seeds of hope and growth that were planted was just mind-blowing to me, because I was like a blank sheet that really, I just needed everything. I was like a little sponge, just like soaking it all up, and when no one tells you what to do, you find it within your heart, then it's so much more powerful than if someone tells you should do this and you need to do that. And so for me, that was really transformational. And I started doing the inner work, and I started getting more out there. And I stumbled upon Linda and these high vibe women. And the last few years has been amazing with publishing of books and creating online course, and just the people that now is in my sphere is just amazing, and I'm so grateful. So doing the work is absolutely worth it.
You're living proof, Dorit, that doing the work, the inner work, can help you create like a life that feels good, and you get to wake up and do what you love every single day. So I applaud you for that.
Yeah. Can I just say a tiny little thing too? Regards to what they mentioned when it comes to the childhood dreams, what you wanted to do when you were a kid. Everyone laughed at me when I said I wanted to. I love dogs, so I wanted to work with dogs. And everyone said, no, you can have dogs as a hobby, but you can't work with dogs. That's not going to get you any money. You can't live with that. Dogs is not, no. So just enjoy your dogs, but find a job. But now it's like, well, giving me quite a good addition from some of the books and the course, and working with dog show training and professional breeder of a special breed, and helping people out by giving tips and advice, and being a consultant for the dog club. And so follow your dreams. The kids' dream is real.
Linda, I see you're unmuted. Did you have something you wanted to add?
No, I didn't mean to be unmuted.
Okay. I know I actually took time to notice it, and I was like, oh, okay, I won't jump right in, but it worked out for however it needed to. Steve, I want to come back over to you now. Now that we've all had a chance to share what's coming up as we think about doing the work, do you have any practical tips for anybody watching, listening, how they can start doing the work? Like, what is the first step for people?
For me, it's figuring out what your goal or what your joyful destination is going to be. And it's so funny because the explanation, the metaphor that I use all the time, I've heard it hinted at a few times by everybody here on the show. If you think of life like an old wooden roller coaster, not one of the jet powered ones now that goes over the top of the hill. You start at the parking lot level. Now, these old coasters don't hold a lot of people. So you want to make sure you surround yourself with the right people who aren't just going to complain the whole way. And you start at that bottom level at the parking lot and you look up. Any one of your goals is the top of that first hill. And you can't start halfway up and you can't skip any steps. So you have got to take the daily or systematic actions of click, 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 click. So when you get started, it can be a little daunting to wonder even, how do I even get started at this? But if you have a very clear vision of what that goal is, and you start to observe other people out there who are either achieving it or have already achieved it, and left clues, Tony Robbins says that success leaves clues, and you just start doing those little systematic actions. And after a while, if you look over your shoulder, you realize you're not down at the parking lot level anymore. You're partway up there, and you get some progress, maybe a little momentum, a better habit wired, and some consistency and confidence comes with that. And then when you get to the top, when you get that close to it and that one last action and you look down the other side and you get excited that you're about to achieve it, and then you hang on for a ride to enjoy the success that you couldn't stop if you tried. When you get to the end, don't let that be your last journey. Whatever one of your other goals is, get back in line. And when you're in line, look around for people who are as scared as you were your first time and just ask them, is this something new to you, this whole personal development thing and setting goals? Yeah. Tell you what, why don't you come sit next to me? I want to tell you a little story. I'm going to explain to you how this works on the way up. And we all get to go back and put our hand out and help other people to understand success is not the snap of a finger in this instant gratification world that we seem to be living in these days. I go back to the wooden roller coaster every single time. And that's how I achieve my own goals. I've got my tracking systems. Matter of fact, I get to color in one today on my vision board for how many hundreds of miles I pedaled on the Peloton cycle. I hit 2,510 this morning. So I get to color in the 2,500 line. And the goal is 2,700. So I'm getting very close to the top of the hill on that one. But the old wooden roller coaster always seems to work for me.
That's such a great example. I've never heard it described that way, but what was coming up for me as you were explaining that too, and I, don't worry, Linda, I saw you. I'll come over to you in a second. Is that like when I don't like the people who I'm surrounded with on that roller coaster, like I get to just knock them off and replace the seats with people who are doing what I want to be doing and can learn from. I love then also that you then added in bringing somebody else along for the ride, like taking somebody under your wing, like, and so as we're doing that with other people who have already done it and embodied what we want or view for our success or what it could look like, we get to then do the same for somebody else who wants the similar things. So it's such a great example. Thank you. Linda,
Thank you.
Over to you.
Yeah.
Sound like a news anchor.
That was fabulous. Love that so much. And so I'd like to add another piece to a concept, whatever, is the offering of the hand. And not that you said this, Steve, at all, the taking of the hand, the offering of the hand, or the offering to step into the whatever section of the roller coaster, your seat with you close to you. And that's a huge mistake that I see people even in the coaching industry do, is reach down and see someone's not coming along, so you just reach down, grab their hand and pull them. Or if you're talking to somebody about maybe working with you, the coaching tip I got was, if you pull them in, you're going to pull them around. The work will never end. Get to be allowed to make their own choices and really, like, literally ask before you even are willing to bring them on as a client, because that's going to help both of you quite a bit. Does that make sense?
It really does. Thank you. Steve, I want to give you the opportunity now, if you'd like to let people know, how can people learn more from you and connect with you?
You can find me all over social media under my name, Steve Gamlin, Gamlin. And my website has pretty much everything I have to offer, and that's stevegamlin.com.
I feel like that's so easy for people to remember, but I'm going to pop it into the chat just in case they want to click on it more easily without having to type it in for themselves. Thank you so much for being our special guest here today. This has been a wonderful high vibe conversation with you. We invite you to join us again in the future. Listen in on a conversation. Let us know what's resonating with you. And that goes for everybody in the audience too. If you like the conversations we've been having, if you like this conversation especially, let us know. What did you like? What resonated with you? What other insights and tips do you have to add? We want to hear from you. Please make sure you connect with each of us if you're not already connected to our lovely souls here. And let me get that other link so that you don't have to go searching for it. If you'd like to schedule a more individualized one-to-one conversation with one of us, here's the link where you can do that. We encourage you to do so. And if you want to make sure you don't miss any of the upcoming conversations, make sure to subscribe to the YouTube channel seen on the screen here. Until next time, we will say bye for now, but this has been a wonderful high vibe conversation.